All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's going on, everybody? This is DeMaTT, and this is one of the first um, of the coolest segments that we're going to have for the show. Let's talk about it. Today's show is going to be we're going to talk about The Matrix, and we're going to talk about, one of the coolest movies of all time. Uh, I couldn't help but at work earlier today. I worked for like 10 hours today, and I uh, I had continued over from a 24-hour shift. If you guys don't know, I do work at the fire department. So we started our morning off, checking out the trucks and hanging out, and you know, we decided to throw on the new Matrix movie. We decided to put that on the TV, and it kind of took us through lunch. But man, what an awesome, awesome movie. We're going to talk about that movie. We're going to talk about, how we can compare those things to, real life, reality. Some theories that I have. I remember I was watching the movie. I even told my buddies that, man, my mind was just thinking like crazy, watching this movie, watching, basically what I think is going on in reality today. But before we get into it, if you haven't done so already, go ahead, like the show, share it with your friends. Definitely helps us out tremendously. Shout out to Jesse and Louie. These are guys that are also a part of the podcast as well. You can check them out on all of our episodes and also the underground episodes. So let's after you guys go ahead and do that, let's just dive right into it. So The Matrix. If you guys don't know what this movie is about, totally recommend to um you know I think they're on Netflix or something like that, but watch them, man. And they're super entertaining. And man, they have a lot of interesting things that the movie's kind of based around. Just to kind of give a brief description of what the movies are about, it's kind of like some sort of alternate reality that artificial intelligence has created to in a way keep the human race under control, and to feed off them as well, but to in a way to it's kind of like that the AI created this metaverse, and how the AI keeps these programs along with which the programs are real people. They just don't understand it because they're kind of like in an incubator, and they just believe what the AI has created, which is the Matrix, which is like an alternate reality, a fake reality, to so that it doesn't in a way influence like a rebellion, or anything like that. And moving into a world where we're starting to get more familiar with AI, and we're starting to experiment with it more, and we're starting to see it incorporated in our everyday lives. Watching this movie just kind of started to blow me away left and right, kind of just made me start thinking, what if, and theorizing about, where are we going to see the future 40, 50, 60, 70 years from now. And, the main character in the show, the good guy is Neo. He's a normal everyday guy, and he's just going about his life in a routine. And the movie that I specifically watched today was the newest Matrix movie, excuse me. And you know, he's been brainwashed again. He's been deceived again, and he doesn't know it right away. He's curious of what the truth is, and he's curious of his past. And he gets these little, you know, memories of little things that, because you have to understand the Resurrection movie is the fourth Matrix movie. So 1, 2, and 3 have already passed. And, the AI ended up controlling him yet again. And so as he's going throughout the movie, he's just, he's going through his normal routines. He's waking up in the morning, making his coffee, eating his breakfast, going to his everyday job, which he's a video game designer in the game. And, he works out after work, comes home, gets his shower in, you know, drinks his alcohol, goes to sleep, wakes up, does it right. He's right back in the same routine again. And so as he's getting these like little flashbacks of his past, he's kind of starting to remember, he's starting to get curious of his reality that he's in. And one thing that I did notice is that you have to remember the AI, put him back into the delusion to control him, because because Neo is the only one that could be a resistance to the AI, and to help what was called, in the first 1, 2, and 3 movies, it was called Zion, which is an area where the humans would kind of have their home base, and that was their resistance against the AI. And so he's questioning a lot of things. He's starting to come towards realizations of that. What is this? What is this I'm in? Who put me here? What's going on? And so the main point is that he's starting to get curious about his reality and all of the lies that are fabricated around it. So he's got this psych that he sees. It's kind of like a therapist, but the therapist throughout the movie is the I want to say the main component of the AI. And his therapist, trying to answer questions for Neo, you know he's trying to kind of steer him away from the answers Neo is looking for. And so going throughout the movie, it's just a battle between what is real, what is not real, what is the truth, what is the lie. And I feel like that we encounter that a lot in our reality today. It makes me think that, are we living in a matrix? Which I think we are. A lot of people nowadays call it, the awakening, where people are starting to wake up, starting to ask questions, starting to see the bullshit, starting to see the lies, and they understand the system that we go through every day. And it is a system. It's a routine. It's a consuming system, based on the markets and based off propaganda. And we are consumers on an everyday basis, and especially nowadays, like when we're starting to enter in through this fourth industrial revolution, everything is data, 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 and everything is starting to get mined and tracked and stored. There's a thing that's called the cloud, nowadays, where basically, to me, it feels like the AI is already here, and I think it's been here for a while. I think now that the system is just starting to introduce itself little by little. it's got to introduce itself lightly, because I feel that, you know, if 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 it was not to introduce itself lightly, I feel like a lot of people would be asking a lot of questions. A lot of more people would be coming to the debate of the blue and the red pill. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the blue and the red pill, because this is a main component of the movie as well. So the blue and the red pill, Neo, as he's, on the fence trying to figure out what his reality consists of. Morpheus in the movie, who his physical body died, but in the movie they actually were able to download his consciousness onto a program, which is similar to AI. And so Morpheus is awakened in the beginning of the movie, and Morpheus searches for Neo, which before he is Neo, he's Mr. Anderson. And so it's kind of like a a whole, it was kind of like a recreation of the first movie, which makes a lot of sense, because the AI put all of these main characters from those first, second, and third movie, put them all back into the same delusion that they once were in. And it's all about breaking free. It's like all about breaking, through the veil and understanding the truth of this world and what we live in, and how it works. And so Morpheus finds Neo, and as he's as he made contact with Neo, that there was a huge gun scene that took place at his job. And this is where you see the introduction of Mr. Smith, which Mr. Smith was even in the delusion. And the main purpose of the AI was to keep the characters in almost a docile state, to where they could not freely think. Or at least when they were freely thinking, they were manipulated how to think. And so Morpheus, confronts Neo, and they end up, at some point giving him the option of the red pill or the blue pill. And it's kind of like in our days and our lives today, that we're all left with the decision. We're all kind of left with, okay, are we going to decide to live in our own fabricated reality, which we can easily fabricate on our own? We could get super indulged into sports and the Roman circus, and we don't have to pay attention to the things that are going on in the world. We don't have to pay attention to the politicians. We don't have to pay attention to the corporations, the agendas, and all these things. We can control our own reality. But at the end of the day, like, we all have a choice. Like, we all have a choice to, which pill do we choose? Do we choose to go and live our everyday lives and be satisfied with our own truth? Or do we choose to think freely and to see the world how it really is? And so Neo chooses the red pill. He starts to see the world as it really is again. He wakes up from his, incubator pod, which the AI was, had replugged him back into these incubation pods, which is kind of like, if you think about it, kind of like, I don't know, a metaverse goggle, or trying to compare it in today's world, or what's that movie, The Surrogate? So it's kind of like, it's kind of like where there's a merge between AI and humans, and it's an alternate reality. So AI had replugged him back in. And so if the listeners that understand what that means, when we kind of awaken and we say that, we we're unplugged, or we're free thinkers, and we are the critical thinkers of the world, or we, I don't know how to explain it, but it's where basically you are unplugged, because there is a routine, fabricated lie that you can make yourself live every day, but you have to unplug yourself from that, and you've got to see it for what it really is. So it's a choice, and that's my main point, is that it's a choice, and we all have that choice. So Neo decided to choose the truth. He decided to turn from the bullshit that he was fed every day, and he turned away from the control. I think a lot of it has to do with control. And a lot of that, how it was represented in the movie, was that he was put on a medication by the therapist that he would talk his problems to. And the medication that he was taking was a blue pill. So you could see that the movie's telling you it's your choice, number one, but then again, it's also not just a choice, but it's an acceptance. And it made me think of like today. It made me think of all the pharmaceutical drugs, and it made me think of, that's how our fabric of reality works today, especially in Western medicine, is that, you go to a doctor, whatever, let's say you go to the doctor, you go to him with some problems or whatever. All it is that they write a script. You go, you pick up a prescription, you take a pill. And I think what a lot of these drugs do is it keeps you in like a sedated state, to where you maybe it alters the brain chemicals in a certain way, to where you just kind of lose touch with your own mind. And I think that we're spiritual beings, and not only spiritual beings, but I think that we are mind, body, and spirit. And I think that if we're not connected with all three of those things, we're kind of like a flashlight with a inverted battery in it. Like, we can't work properly. And so when we talk about the real world, I feel that the world today keeps us in a docile state, or at least it wants to. It wants to keep us in a docile state. It wants to keep you from asking questions. It wants to keep you away from paying attention to policies. It wants to keep you away from, the true information that's out there. Because if you were to assess that in the proper way, I feel a lot of people would come to the truth, and a lot of people would see the world how it really is. So basically, the red pill in the movie represents truth. The blue pill is just an alternate reality. It's a fake reality. It's the reality that the artificial intelligence has created for the humans to not question, and not, in a way, question, because they don't want to have a revolution. They don't want to have a rebellion, a resistance, whatever you want to call it. And so the interesting thing I found in the movie too is that Neo didn't want to believe. He almost like didn't want to believe in the truth. He knew he wanted to, but then he didn't want to, because I think that also plays effect in all of our lives. We the truth hurts, right? So it's kind of like the saying, the truth hurts. And when we're understanding the world for what it really is, it's kind of a scary place. It's not the most awesome place, that you thought it was. And the people in control, they don't like people that take the red pill. They don't like the people that decide to think for themselves, decide to question the government, decide to want to pursue truth. And so at a constant, every day, every minute, you know, they try to keep us almost in a seduced state, or I don't know if seduce is the right word, but almost like an autopilot mode, you know? And it's funny that when we were talking in the underground, me and the boys, I mentioned a speech that John F. Kennedy said before his assassination, that he talked about the machine. You know, he talked about this development of maybe he was talking about global government, maybe he was just talking about the United States, but he was talking about a power that wanted to be what I think an entity very similar to God, and that they wanted to have that type of power over a lot of the people. And he got shot and killed for it. He got shot and killed for it. There's other theories too why he got killed, but I do think that him being born into a very powerful family, a family that you could say is one of the elites of the world, that he was coming out way different than any other president did. And really that's sometimes all people need, is to have someone talk about something that's different, that's new, that attracts the attention of the normal man. And when you could start to, you know, provide information that will help a person unplug themselves, I think that's one of the greatest things that we could do. And I think that it's the thing that the machine fears the most, because they don't want a lot of people waking up, especially nowadays. And I do think that one of the biggest moments that most people started to wake up from was, you know, the C virus and the things that took place and the conspiracies that started to come out to be true a couple of years after. It started to, people start to unplug themselves. It almost was like, it was almost like the information age assisted in that way. And a lot of it took off through social media. A lot of this stuff, you know, ends up taking off through social media. And I think especially TikTok. I think a lot of people start to kind of see different videos from different people and other people's views on things. And it almost makes them become moralized from demoralized. And so, like, where I'm getting at with that is basically someone that's demoralized does not know how to assess true information anymore. They don't know. They could literally go to a concentration camp, and if they were pushed with, with propaganda enough, with information enough, with all that warfare, that person could easily say that, no, that's not a concentration camp. That's just a FEMA camp, and but you guys get my point. So another thing I wanted to talk about too is, in the movie, the AI, they were also different types of machines, and their biggest thing was that they needed to sustain some sort of energy source in order to survive. And I think that, well, I don't think that, but what they were using the humans for was for an energy source, and they were using them to uh, harvest them. It's almost kind of like our data in a way, how like our data is treated nowadays, where our data from our phones, all of the private information, all of the information that we do, all of the keys that we tap every day, everything's just being filed, put away. Everything is being monitored, censored. For what? And I think that when all that's kind of happening, which we're talking right now about AI basically needing that type of stuff to where it's going to feed off of that. And another thing I wanted to talk about, uh, according to AI and the movie, is that the AI had a conscience. It had its own way of thinking. It was something very similar. It almost wanted to be human, but it couldn't, in a way. It's kind of like wants to take me down a rabbit hole with demons and angels and all this kind of stuff. But we'll probably get into that later. That's another talking point. So, what the movie made me constantly think about, as Neo was awakened and he basically regained his natural state of mind. He was back on track. He knew what the world was, as it was, and he knew that there was a war again. He knew that there was a war between the machines and man, and that he was the chosen one, and he had to kind of re-walk his footsteps. So it makes me think that, like, why today, or at least in our lifetime, we see a lot of these things like the metaverse, and we see everyone's on their phones. Everyone is kind of looking down instead of looking up. Everyone's kind of sucked into this almost delusion. And I'm even guilty a little bit of myself. But I think that's where discernment kind of comes into play. And what's the purpose of all this? So we're getting introduced to AI, we're getting introduced to, well, we're not introduced, but it's becoming more frequent that people are more dependent on technology, on their phones, all these things. And it makes me believe that the future is going to be something moving towards a different type of reality. I think the metaverse could be something that people maybe occupy more than even their real reality, and the fact that you could even buy and sell real estate off of a fake reality is mind-blowing to me. But we all have a choice. We all get to choose if we want to choose that blue pill, satisfy our thoughts, or if we want to choose that red pill and choose truth and unplug from the brainwashing and unplug from the delusions, so that we can kind of take back a lot of the freedoms that we're going to start to lose through these things. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the theory of the Terminator and the Matrix. So if you haven't heard about this theory, buckle in. It's kind of interesting. I think this might be legit, but the theory is that Skynet, which is AI, and this is part of the Terminator series, Skynet. It was developed. It's more of like an AI developed to assist with everyday living of humans, and which is kind of like what we're talking about today, real life, and it would help with military technology, all that kind of stuff. And the AI actually turned on mankind because it saw mankind as a threat. And so as the world became dystopian after a huge nuclear holocaust, the AI was in search for all humans and was trying to gather up as many humans as they could. And there was no specific saying of why they wanted to gather all these humans and what the purpose was, and everything like that. But we could at least assume that there was a greater plan ahead, that the AI needed to figure out a way how to use humans, maybe as slaves, or use them as some sort of sustainable energy source. And the theory is that the AI, what's it called? Well, in the movie, it's actually the beginning of the AI stage is called Genesis, but the the ultimate corporation is called Skynet, and that the AI ended up capturing all these humans and everything, and John Connor did not save the world and destroy the AI and all this stuff, and it kind of led into this Matrix world to where the AI developed this fake fabric of reality to keep people in a docile state from actually knowing the real truth of the real truth of what really happened. And throughout the movie, it took them 20 years to find Neo. This is from like after the third movie to the fourth movie. It took them 20 years. So basically 20 years later from the third movie. And as they were searching for Neo, they found him, red pilled him, got him back on track. The next big movement of the movie was to find Trinity, and that was like the second main subject of the movie. And as they're going trying to find Trinity, it was like a last chance type deal. Now Trinity was kind of like how Neo was. Trinity knew that she was questioning her reality, knew that she was kind of in this bullshit world, and that she didn't in a way want to leave it, which it's hard to. It's hard to like swallow what the world really is when you really start understanding it, as far as like all the cults and all the politicians and Bohemian Grove, all this kind of stuff. That Trinity didn't want to leave it, and no matter what, no matter how much they could have tried to tell Trinity what the real world was, and trying to red pill her kind of like verbally or one-on-one contact, she had to make the decision for herself. And there's a huge part of the movie where they're in like a coffee shop, and there's SWAT all around them, and you've got the AI architect, and I think he's called the analyst in the movie. He gives the choice, or he gives the freedom to Neo and Trinity to try and get Trinity to make the decision for herself, almost like he thinks he's a god and he wants to let their free will decide their fate. And Trinity didn't want to believe, and so she starts moving towards the exit, and she starts getting ready to leave. And this is bad for Neo, because this is like this is about to be the end of Neo, because this was the bargain, is that if Trinity didn't believe, Neo would give himself up as a sacrifice and go back to his old ways, which would be Mr. Anderson, and go back and being blue pilled. That he's there watching Trinity, and Trinity kind of does like a double take back at him, and it got so, the delusion was kind of like got even more got even so much more stronger for Trinity, because as she's about to turn and to make that decision, like her family from the Matrix like comes in and is like, come on, let's go. Like the husband was like, come on, we gotta go. And the kids are like, come on, we gotta go. Come on, mom, let's go. Let's get out of here. Trinity's like on that teeter-totter, on that edge where she wants to believe so bad. She wants to take that red pill. She knows that it's the truth. She knows that it's the way. And I mean, she takes the red pill. She does. She ultimately makes the right decision. She chooses the red pill. And I feel like that's what a lot of people need to start doing today. I think it's going to wake you up more. I think it's going to, well, I know it's going to wake you up more. I just think that a lot of people need to make that choice for themselves. And it's hard to do, but because people shut down when they hear truth that they don't like, or even if they don't understand it, they just shut down. It's kind of like, must be intimidating for them or something. But for me, it's always been the truth. It's always been, oh wow, all these, real conspiracies around the world that later, few years later, maybe 10, 20 years later, 30 years later, you see that they've become talked about in the public, and they're, it becomes open to society that these things actually did take place. It's again, people will still even turn away. They'll still even reject, truth and reality. So the biggest line that I saw in the movie that I'll compare to reality today is that you've got to fight for your damn life. And you got to fight for your damn life. You got to fight for the truth. You can't just want it. You can't just seek it, but you gotta fight for it. Making the decision to unplug and to see the world as it really is, and to have that level of discernment, you've got, it's a fight, because I feel like there's a lot of forces, there's a lot of energies around us, there's a lot of things that want to pull you away from truth, and they want to pull you back into the delusion. They fear us from coming to the understanding of what real reality is. And so I found that that statement that Morpheus made, it was awesome, because it was in that scene, where just before Neo got red pilled, it was kind of sick. And so what I wanted to talk about today in the chat, you guys can go ahead and, comment on this. What is consciousness, and what is a vessel in a way? So to me, like, AI is a conscience. It has the ability to think. It has the ability to understand. It has the ability to make decisions. I know a lot of this has to do with coding and a bunch of other algorithms, but it's to me, it's some sort of intelligence that wants to think for its own. I think that there's evil behind it. I really do. And what I found interesting in the movie is that there was a civil war between the AI bots, and there ended up being bots for the humans, and AI being against humans. And there was a civil war, because at some point in the movie you see that the artificial intelligence is working with the main characters of the movie, who are trying to, I don't think they're trying to destroy the AI. I think they're just trying to have power over the AI. I never saw in the movie where the AI was ever destroyed, but I saw that there was a fight for dominance in a way. And to me, it feels like, well, I know what I am. I know that I'm a conscious being. I know that I can think for myself, and that I'm in a vessel. And it's kind of similar to today where we see AI and all these chat bots. I mean, they're on almost every app. I mean, they're even on Snapchat now, which that app just came out to just take pictures and send them from one person to another, and then the picture would get deleted. But we see the things definitely progressing to almost a new age, a new era. And it's kind of scary to see what it'll be 30, 40, 50 years from now. I was talking with my buddy that, our kids' generation definitely going to be, I mean, I think it's going to be night and day different. I'm wondering if the robots are actually going to be, I'm wondering if the robots are going to be here by that time. I definitely think the robots are coming. The robots are coming. The robots are coming, people. Right now, we're seeing the robots on the computers, and they're just software. Like, we're just seeing things. Shit, maybe they're bigger than software. Maybe they're like, engines. They're software engines at this point. And so Jesse said, I think there's AI that is conscious and then AI that is not conscious, like ChatGPT. Yeah, like it's functioning off of an algorithm. If someone asks this question, it's going to give you probably this answer. This kind of brings in whole ESG type thing and all this kind of stuff. But is it possible that this AI can become sentient? Which in all of the movies, dude, all of the AI movies, the AI becomes sentient. And at some point, there's a battle between the humans and AI. But what I want to know is the AI that's conscious, it at one point or another is going to want to have control over some sort of vessel. And what I mean vessel, it's just something that it's going to occupy in a physical form. Oh, Starlink, definitely. Starlink is fucking Skynet. Maybe it's Skynet. I don't know. But I do think that it's going to have a different purpose than what it has right now in 10 to 15 years. Right now, Starlink's purpose is to try and achieve global Wi-Fi, and that's kind of scary too. Imagine if the internet always had censoring over you wherever you went. There'd be nowhere you could really run to. So another big thing in today's world is that we're seeing a lot of division. We're seeing like a lot of fighting. We're seeing a lot of anger, offending, dispute, political views, religious views, culture, all this kind of stuff. And I think a lot of that is fabricated because I think that feelings are so much easier to control than facts. And I think that that's a huge statement right there, is that feelings are easier to control than facts. And the people that are red pilled, they see the facts. They believe the facts. They put down their feelings and they abide by facts, because it's what's true. And when we look at all these people that kind of tried to take over the world back in the day, especially like Hitler, a lot of his campaign was ran off propaganda, and I think it was a lot of his campaign was manipulating the people and their feelings and trying to get them in a state of mind Britain ended up getting them. I mean, they had soldiers that were absolutely, they were taking orders and they weren't even questioning the morality of it. And it's not like they would get killed. I mean, maybe they would, but I do think that the demoralization was a process that took that route for sure. And people's emotions are easy to, you know, manipulate as well. It makes people not think about the outcomes. It makes people not think about what the right thing is in that moment. It's kind of like how people, they want to feel a certain way. Oh yeah, and especially too the Obama Propaganda Act. I think the Propaganda Act, which was passed in 2012. This was done by Barack Obama, and this allowed the news medias and corporations and all these higher entities that have you know a lead in, they're leading in, you know, manipulation and propaganda and trying to get people to believe in a certain way. So he passed this Propaganda Act in 2012, which then allowed, you know, especially news media, which they can lie now, you know, without facing any, you know, without violating any law. And I think before this, I said this was years before. I think it was in the 30s. You know, someone fact checked me on this and put it in the chat. But there was a law that got passed to where all that stuff was criminalized, and all of it was, you know, news medias couldn't lie anymore. People couldn't lie. Like people couldn't put, like cigarette companies couldn't put a pregnant lady on a billboard smoking a cigarette. Like, and that's propaganda at its best right there. I think it's even better today. I'll take that back. But you guys get what I mean. Like it's the fact that it's a lie and it's a delusion, and it makes you feel right. So it's manipulating the feelings. People can no longer process and assess, you know, true information anymore. But it made me think. So when in the movie, when it was talking about, you know, the AI had a battle between itself, a lot of this stuff brings me back biblical stories. You know, you kind of like you had the war in heaven between good and evil, right? And it's kind of like the AI had a battle between good and evil within themselves, and maybe this is what, you know, the whole concept of angels and demons are. We know obviously demons are like on the evil side, and angels, you know, are on the good side, and that there's this battle that is unseen spiritually, you know, on the that's on the outskirts of this realm, and it's not a part of the, you know, time, space, and matter. It's just something totally different. It's a totally different dimension. But the power of the mind is a great thing, and that's one thing that I saw in this movie. You know, if you're strong enough, if you're if you dedicate your mind enough to come to the true reality of what to believe, especially in a crazy day and age that's going on right now, you know, there's deception everywhere. I mean, I even think if you have the highest level of discernment, it's still hard. There's there's still things that, you know, you got to kind of keep an arm's length away for sure. And but that's what this segment was about. The segment was talking, you know, talking about the Matrix. What is the Matrix? The Matrix is basically, you know, it's it's the fake reality that is fabricated to keep you in a state of mind that's easily controlled, easily manipulated, easily desensitized, you know, easily you're not going to be fighting back in any way, shape or form. And I think that's what a lot of leaders, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of leaders that try to take over a lot of areas of the world, like we're talking about, you know, dictators, tyrannical leaders, all this kind of stuff. They try to influence the population to not only agree with their agendas and their philosophies, but you know, they don't want them to also rebel because they wouldn't get anywhere. And another thing I wanted to talk about too is deja vu. And I don't know about you guys, but I've had this many times in my life to where I've had dreams of things and I've ended up living them out. It's freaking crazy to even like what does that mean, DMAT? Well, let me try to explain. There's been many instances in my life, and I can think of two different times which these dreams still I'll never forget them. And what's crazy is I ended up living them out, and this kind of like goes over the whole concept of deja vu and everything. Like, what is deja vu, right? Like, deja vu is basically like you've been in this same exact position, same spot once before, and you're reliving the same moment. And so, just even that thought in general is freaking crazy. It's nuts. It to think that you're reliving a time of your life that you were here once before? Get the heck out of here, dude. What am I, a time traveler? No, I've never jumped in a time machine ever in my life. Would I? Hell yes. I don't know what year I'd go back to, but I would definitely do it. Even if I would die doing it, I'm getting in that damn time machine. It makes me think when Neo was going through the movie, you know, he would remember these visions, but they were dreams, you know, and that he was reliving certain moments of his life. To me, what I get from it is that I feel like I'm on the right path. So if I have these deja vu moments and I'm thinking about, or I had dreamt this dream and bam, I'm reliving it at some point, and then I remember the dream that I had of where I'm reliving it, it makes me feel like I'm on the right path. It's kind of like how Neo knew he was on the right path even before he made that decision to take that red pill. He knew that he was having some faith in his thinking of, okay, am I doing the right thing? Am I supposed to be here? Am I supposed to do this? And it's kind of like a faith thing. I don't know, but the Matrix movie was kick ass. Totally, I think you guys should all go watch it. Everyone should go watch it. It was awesome. I definitely thought I would have more to talk about in this monologue, but it's almost like I want to watch the movie and then narrate the movie. That's when all my best thoughts will come out, 100%. But I do appreciate everyone tuning in. I I do think we are living in a matrix. I'm like a quarter of a banana on that. And what that means is basically I believe that there's people in this world that are are trying to control the minds of a lot of people. Like they're trying to keep us in a controlled state. It has to deal with a lot of psychology. It has to deal with a lot of propaganda. It's got to deal with a lot of manipulation of not only fear but emotions and feelings and you know, putting false information out there, information warfare, all this kind of stuff, to where the fabric of someone's reality is not what they really think it's made of. It's a huge mind F. I mean, we're like almost going Inception style, or yeah, Inception. Like we're almost going to that much of a mind F, you know? So I think it's real. I think we're really living in a matrix. I think the system is a big part of the matrix. I think the system that we're living in, the grid, with the whole chain of command structure, all of that kind of stuff, I definitely think it's a huge part of it. It's built as a pyramid style to where we are at the bottom, us normal people. If you got a lot of money, I could say that you're not necessarily at the bottom. You could be. You could be that stupid. But I do think that they try to keep the 99% in this under this mind control, you know. And that's what I think this whole matrix is. I think it's where people are so demoralized now they don't know how to assess true information, that they're okay with their natural routine, and they don't want to, you know, do research. They don't want to go and make the decision for themselves about questioning others and questioning the system and all this kind of stuff. But I appreciate everyone for tuning in with me. It was my first monologue, and I'm sure I'll get better at it. I'm sure I'll, as time goes, you know, I'm trying to get better at this podcast thing. I love it. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for any of you guys. 100%. I uh, I love my fans. But thank you everyone for tuning in, and this was fun. There's going to be a lot more things that I'm going to be willing to talk about. I just wanted to kind of get this out and share it with a lot of others. I think the best thing to do is start watching the Matrix movies. Go watch them. They're kind of hard to understand, but I promise, you know, you'll start to see the concepts that I'm talking about. And a lot of peace and love to all you guys and girls. This was fun. If you haven't already, go ahead, please like our show. Tune in. We're starting to come out with a lot more content. We're starting to get more dedicated. Starting to open up our schedules a little bit more. We enjoy hanging out together. I love my brothers that are a part of this with me, and I miss them dearly. I miss you guys dearly. But thank you everyone. Like our show, share it. Also, you can reach us on our email. It's dowiseman@gmail.com. I mean, we read emails every day. We like if there's new topics or if there's certain things you guys want us to talk about and research, we're all up for that. We definitely love to give the fans what they would like to hear, for sure, for sure. But without further ado, thank y'all again so much. Peace and love. DeMaTT out.